Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha. Well, a great deal has happened over the course of a very short period of time. For those of you that are not aware, last night I released a video discussing Alex Mauer, a musical composer who was hired by Image Softworks as the musical director to create the audio assets for Star Mazer and Star Mazer DSP. There was an apparent falling out, and Mauer feels that she is owed substantial sums of money. She then took it upon herself to determine that because she's owed money, she retains the copyright to her work, even though she was working as a contractor and the original agreement signed by her clearly states that the intellectual property is owned by the company, not by her. That is the core of what trade for hire means. With her firmly held and seemingly false belief that she is the copyright holder of not only the music but also the sound effects of Star Mazer DSP, she has begun issuing copyright strikes to a wide array of YouTubers. My video last night goes into greater detail in that regard, and I will link it down in the description below. Since then, the awareness of this situation has slowly raised, eventually being signal boosted by Total Biscuit, which has alerted a large number of other YouTubers who are now producing their own videos on this subject in order to further spread awareness of what is going on and hopefully reach any of those affected by Mauer's DMCA wave. Before we move on to the latest information, I thought I would share a bit of the mindset of the person behind this wave of DMCA attacks. I confronted Mauer via our ongoing email discussions, as she seems quite content to still email me personally for some reason that I don't entirely fathom, and I had stated that even if multiple things regarding the copyright were to fall into place for her, which at the current moment, per discussions with Leonard French, keep your eyes open for his podcast on his channel for more on that, this person most certainly does not currently own the copyright to any of the Star Mazer content, regardless of whether they owe her money or not. But it's not like any of that matters, at least not to Alex Mauer. Alex Mauer, a person who holds absolutely no respect for YouTube or Twitch content creators, stating, "I don't think that video recording yourself playing video games is a realistic job. Creating video games is, and it is a very risky business to be in." Now, since then, it has been discovered that Mauer is doubling down on this insane tidal wave of DMCA strikes and has started going after Death Road to Canada videos that contain any portion of her content. Also, to top it all off, Mauer has, for some reason, emailed me a copy of a cease and desist letter that she apparently sent to Turner Broadcasting. Yes, that one. The megalith parent company of Adult Swim, the publishers of Duck Game. It seems she is now targeting videos that contain her content in the live Quaction trailer. And for icing on the cake, Mauer is apparently selling off this music that she claims she owns on Bandcamp for $1,000. Because why wouldn't you? I'm unsure what this woman's endgame is, but for someone who claims to practice law, as she did in a statement to another YouTuber who goes by Jupiter Hadley, by the way, she's not registered as a bar member in the state that she resides, she certainly does seem to completely and utterly fail to grasp the fundamentals of copyright and fair use. What this woman is doing is wrong, and due to her titanic lack of respect for content creators, she doesn't even seem to see how much damage she is causing, as it's not a real thing to her. This is a person that cannot see past the tip of her own nose and doesn't care about the sheer amount of damage she is causing all over the internet. And unfortunately, until one of these clearly false DMCA strikes are overturned, nothing can be done legally in regards to this, and she can patiently wait out the clock for another 3 weeks until that happens. And then only if that person wishes to pursue it, which would not be difficult. I happen to know a very competent copyright attorney who lives in and is licensed in the same state as Alex Mauer, and given how many content creators this has affected already, I don't think a GoFundMe campaign would have any trouble raising the required funds at all. Now, this sort of thing has to stop. It has to be stopped. But it will only be stopped once someone is brave enough to sink the time and energy necessary into actually taking a person like this to court and making an example of them. This will require one of those content creators who have received one of these DMCA strikes to take action. Also, it has been reported that Mauer has been attempting to get copies of documentation from other YouTubers, just as she has attempted from me. She even went so far as to call Lord Crocosquirrel on the phone in an attempt to obtain that information. I would urge anyone in possession of that paperwork to not give in to what she asks. She is in a current legal conflict with Image Softworks, and your providing her that paperwork would be to involve yourself in a dispute that you don't belong in. Force her to go through proper channels. For years, YouTubers and Twitch streamers have faced the abuses of games developers who would wield the DMCA system not as a shield as it was intended, but as a weapon. Something to deliberately do harm to a person's channel, their potential futures, and in some cases their livelihood. Now, it seems we must also deal with disgruntled ex-employees with a chip on their shoulder and an overdeveloped sense of self-worth who would also, again, weaponize the DMCA system in a foolish and misguided attempt to pressure their former employers into capitulation. Make no mistake, what Maurer has been doing here is wrong. Regardless of her dispute with Imago Softworks, she has eliminated that as even being a discussion in the face of her own actions. Now, the wagons are circling. YouTubers are openly discussing and sharing information and doing what they can to help each other out while this situation continues. Because for the moment, that's all we can do. Keep each other and everyone else informed until the counterclaims are processed. Total Biscuit is doing what he can to try and help expedite that process by reaching out to YouTube Gaming. And when that day comes, those affected by these DMCA strikes will have the full support of other content creators, myself included, if they would choose to take this issue to court. So for the moment, we will continue to gather information and keep our eyes and our ears open, as this is very much a developing story. We will see how Turner Broadcasting deals with Maurer's cease and desist as well. In the meantime, this can affect a great many content creators, as this person seems quite content to happily file DMCA after DMCA. I would request that you all make sure your favorite content creators are aware of this situation. Forewarned is forearmed, and in situations like these, we all need to band together. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha, and I'll see you next time.